Middleton.
Well, I mean,
But we are live.
You got the blur background. I have the non-blur background.
You have a much better background. Woodside Bar and Grill.
I do.
I mean, look how cool. Look how cool the background looks for you. I wouldn't blur that either. Obviously, the Bob here at Woodside did a phenomenal job. I mean, just look at this. So obviously, you want to show it off and not blur. Nice.
You're breaking up on me a couple times. I don't know.
That's not good.
That's coming across the live stream, but it kind of jumped in there a little bit. Hopefully, we're all good. You can, if you guys are listening, and you can make in the comments, like, you can let us know, hey, like, it's not a great audio. We'll try to figure it out on the fly as we're rolling along here. But
yeah, that's definitely one of the great. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the great things about doing them live on location is obviously to show off the location and let people about where we are. And it adds a little, it's cool for us to do them live on site. But like Ryan was saying, one of the downsides is unpredictable audio, video, things like that. So we do our best, and I think it should be smooth from here on. The internet can do it here at Woodside. But like Ryan said, if there are any issues, just let us know. But otherwise, I mean, we're here in Johnstown. Why are we in Johnstown?
We're down in Johnstown. I heard that there's a big MMA show coming up here in a couple weeks, in just like 3 weeks. Weigh-ins are 3 weeks from today.
That doesn't seem right. It seems like we just show, and we clearly deserve an 8-month vacation now.
I think the vacation is for those that are lazy. It's time to rock and roll. So today on the show, we're going to talk about what just transpired a week ago at BitB11, and we're going to talk about what can you expect to happen at Flood City Fight Night 2 in just 3 weeks. Like, I'm stoked, bro. This is a really cool time for MMA in Western Pennsylvania, and like, it's awesome.
I feel like we beat this drum a lot, and I wasn't tired of hearing about it, but you're exactly right. Because combat sports in Western PA is such an untapped market. You know, things that Simon Arias said of Arias Agencies, one of our sponsors here. I'll go ahead and just throw them up on the screen. But
there he is.
Simon talked to him. Yeah, when I talked to him, that was one of the things that he said. MMA and is still tapped and unexplored, and that's to us. And when we get BitB11, we get to see people come out and be excited about MMA and just feel that fan energy and everything that sport. It's super exciting, man. And now Johnstown is the next.
So I am working on an alternate connection, because you are going in and out for me, and I'm hoping that you're not for everyone. But if that's the case, we want to get this figured out on the fly. We've done this a couple times, like when we're both on the same network. It takes a lot of resources, so maybe if I switch over to a different network, we're going to get a better result. So I'm going to tap out for like 2 seconds, and I'm going to try to log in on a different network. And Hunter, like, he never stops talking, so I'm sure he'll be fine.
I probably figure out some things to say. So I'm hoping that it's not me, but Jared Thomas, y'all in my town next. Awesome, man. Well, we can't wait either, dude. I hope that you're coming out to that show. So Flood City Fight Night 2, May 14th, Summit Arena right here in Johnstown. Dude, it's we just announced the first fight today, which we're super excited about. Our Instagram, we released the fight to our first official fight announcement for this Johnstown card. It looks good, man. Looks really good.
As soon as I come on, I hear you talking about how it looks good. I get it, bro.
I mean, I predicted that you were about to hop on, obviously.
I know. And as soon as I came on, you were like, it looks good.
It looks good, bro. But this is actually what I was talking about. Clearly, I wasn't talking about Ryan Middleton. Heavyweight, absolute banger between Dan Albright and Justin Pippen fight, which fight has been signed for a very long time now. They've both been grinding. I've been so hyped for this matchup, man. I like absolute best regional amateur heavyweight. These guys being a 247 champion. If I don't know about you.
I absolutely think both of these guys have a realistic shot, a pathway to a heavyweight title fight. And, you know, all things considered, it's not like we haven't had discussions behind the scenes about, like, you know, who's ready for a heavyweight title fight at the amateur level. Like, we kind of have the interesting thing is we talk about this a fair amount. Like, we kind of have a log jam at heavyweight at a specific gym in, like, at the Mat Factory, where we have three guys that are studs that are the best of the best in the heavyweight division in the area. And so, like, those guys, like, there's going to be a crowned heavyweight champion sometime probably in 2022, and we just have to see how things kind of play out. But these two are in the run. Both of them are in the running. Dan is out of Gorilla House Gym in Altoona, which is, you know, this is his backyard, and I expect to see a bunch of Dan Albright fans at the, you know, War Memorial on May 14th, and Justin's coming into enemy territory. This is the first time for 247 that Justin won't be the, you know, the hometown guy. And so, yeah, he competes. He's a football guy. Like, there's plenty of experience going into enemy territory, but this will be the first time under our banner. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and it's a little different for fighting. I think there's a different dynamic in general. Other man inside the cage, it's a little different kind of. But you alluded to it, Ryan, and I just want to expand at the Mat Factory because Dan Albright over one of the other guys in Cody Gamble, and I know Pippins wants to get this one back to avenge his teammate. I mean, he wouldn't mind me sharing this, but that was one of the first things when we signed the fight. Pippins DM'd me and was like, I got to get this one back for my boy Cody. Well, initially he said, I need to get revenge. And I messaged him, I'm like, dude, what do you need revenge for? You're undefeated. Like, who are you getting revenge for? And he's like, no, for my Cody. Dan just beat my boy Cody. I got to get this one back. So I was like, okay, I got you. But that just makes the fight even more fun.
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, there's a good storyline here, to be honest, because, Dan has his sights on getting a title shot and thinks, I dispose of Pippins, and then let me fight for the title at a future card against a complete animal, undefeated, Julian Flannery, 3-0. Like, there's that log jam. You got the three studs. You got Flannery, you got Pippins, and you got Cody Gamble, all heavyweights out of the Mat Factory. And Dan is up for the task of taking on those three in a row. And so it's an interesting storyline for sure. And the Mat Factory is well known for their wrestling pedigree, and Dan Albright is well known for his wrestling pedigree. But these are all of these guys are well-rounded, and I think this fight is it is a fan pleaser 100%. The fans at the War Memorial. I call it the War Memorial. It will always be the War Memorial to me, but I know it's First Summit Arena at Cambria County War Memorial. Is that right?
You nailed it.
Okay. So the War Memorial, the fans are going to be treated to a delightful showing by these two. It's going to be a rock'em sock'em. These guys are coming for each other, and the heavyweights always deliver. It's kind of like you can safely say like female fights always deliver, so do the heavyweights. Like, it's exciting. People love seeing heavyweights go at it because any moment a simple punch can knock someone out. Like, not even a combination. Like, these guys' power is incredible. They can throw a 50% punch and it's enough to knock another man out.
I mean, heavyweight fights rule. I think anybody can deny that, but a big win over Cody Gamble. Just one fight before that in Johnstown, he unfortunately suffered a defeat, who is now 3 finishes, the only person that took him to Dan Albright. So that loss has aged really well for Dan. Jackson is a beast and a really good fighter. So Dan is at this point in his career where it seems like he's kind of piecing it together. He's clearly getting better each time out. And I think if he gets past Pippins, man, that's a huge accomplishment. And Gorilla House, and look what they just did with Ethan Goss. That Ethan Goss title fight at the best Ethan Goss that we've ever seen. House is clicking right now. I expect the best Dan Albright that we've seen yet.
I agree. I could not. So, being in our position, we hear the whispers. We hear like people talking about like, wow, this guy's made leaps and bounds. We talk to people. We hear those things from different camps, and we're always hearing about like the strides people are making, and we certain people, or you should expect something special out of them. The word on Dan Albright, the sky is very bright. The ceiling is very high, and I think Dan did a lot of trainings, like self-training prior to coming to Gorilla House, and was like surviving, and now he's thriving. And so I think that it's a turning point for him where he can really show off the training he's getting with those monsters out there at Gorilla House. We have a bunch of other fights that'll be announced. We just announced our first fight for Flood City Fight Night. Don't want to turn the page too quickly. We have a couple weeks to talk about those things, but guess what? I want to talk about what happened this past Saturday at Brawlenberg 11. Like that, you started to touch on it with Ethan Goss's performance. So first of all, you wrote an article. If you haven't seen it yet, it's 247fighting.com. Click on the news tab. And you wrote an article about like kind of behind the scenes. It's pretty cool to see, even me knowing what happened, to kind of read that, and it was kind of neat. But share with everyone the situation that happened for Ethan Goss's title win against Kevin Barberina.
Well, it was one of the best fights of the night going in. That matchup was just a banger. When you asked me what my fight of the night was going to be, I said Goss versus. That was the fight that I was most excited to see, and I think a lot of PM on Saturday. Kevin Barberina, Jim, our head matchmaker, side like an hour and a half after that, and is like, "Hey, and yet we don't need to let any." Barberina tested positive for COVID on his first test. Is that these turned over? Like, it is what it is. He's pot fight, but he'll take a second. That one comes back negative. Take a third test, and then if that back negative, be bored. See where we're at. It's worked out. Obviously, you saw the fight Ethan Barberina fought. He He tested negative on his next 2, and they approved the fight. When it got approved, Ryan sounded like a banshee at Groville Convention Center. He was so excited. I've never. I think he muted. He was. I thought Ryan was going to take it.
I did mute because
Good.
You're still breaking up a lot, so I'm having Austin check out your listen to it on the actual feed to see if you're actually breaking up or if it's just what I can hear. So that means that as Austin gets connected, you should probably be the one talking. But here's what happened is I found out that Barberina tested negative. We were told we're going to do a retest. If he tests negative, then we're good to go. But like most likely, like we've never had that happen, that someone tested positive and then tested negative the next time. So that's what happened. He tested negative. They said he was good to go. I started flipping out. I was screaming, woo! And most people had no clue that there was even an issue. So they just see this, like, you know, the promoter just flipping out, like the doors were about to open. And I was, you know, they just thought like, oh, wow, like he's a little crazy. And that's true. But we kind of kept all that quiet. And when I found that out, I was, you know, just so relieved because ultimately, like, that was our co-main event. That was a title fight. It was a big deal. And we did not want to, under any circumstances, lose that fight. So we, you know, basically found out, celebrated, and then we come to find out they're going to need to test him again. Like, what? Wait, what? So the funny thing is Kevin Barberina is double vaxxed. So technically he didn't have to do a COVID test, but he did not realize that. He thought he had to take it. And so once he took it, they could not ignore the results. So once he had the positive test results, they made him take 2 more tests. He came out negative the 2 future times. And I'm taking it that it was breaking up on, are you there? Are you unmuted?
Yeah, it was breaking up pretty bad, apparently. So sorry about that, guys. I connected to your hotspot now, Ryan. We're going to try that.
Okay. I'm going to hope that it does not die, the hotspot, because let's just keep our fingers crossed. I'm at 1% on that, but it's charging. But with 2 people on it, who knows? If we lose it, we'll jump back on. Sorry for the tech. I'll get better with this. I promise. I will make sure everything's charged up and ready to go. Are you on my personal hotspot or the 247 hotspot?
The 247 hotspot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, kind of wrapping up that story, the fight ended up happening. It was an awesome fight. Like, honestly, Ethan Goss, in the last 2 fights he's fought, has completely turned a corner and is on a different level. Like, Ethan Goss, since the moment he's been a 247 fighter, he's fought for us for a couple years now. He has been a really, really, really solid pro fighter. He's turned a corner. The switch was hit, and he is off and running, and he is unbelievable. Like, it's just unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish the past 2 fights. We've seen the best of Ethan Goss, and I think, like, he's just taken it to another level. I'm super impressed.
What impresses me the most about it is that the things that he showed off in that fight against Barberina, he can replicate and grow upon them. It wasn't like he suddenly got this flashy head kick knockout and it was amazing. It was fundamental things that he's gotten so much better at that are really rounding out his game in an extremely beneficial way. His conditioning, first of all, it looked like he could have gone 400 rounds. that fight. You know, like he didn't tire at all throughout that entire fight, was strong the entire time. His grappling was imposing. His body kicks and knees were on a different level than we've ever seen. He was doing so many little things that showed that it wasn't a flash in the pan, that this was a real growth of Ethan Goss, that it was just like a new and improved version of himself. So there's no reason to think he can't continue that, man. Ethan's performance was just sensational, dude. I mean, we've heard him say it before inside the cage, you know, I'm not stopping until I get that shiny 247 belt. And that was his moment, and he totally seized it against a guy that I still think is another phenomenal fighter in Kevin Barberina. It wasn't that Barberina wasn't up to the challenge, wasn't prepared. Ethan was just that dialed in that night. It was a beautiful performance.
Yeah, I could not have been more impressed by Ethan, and you know, it's interesting to see that you know, we did do a good job of keeping that news from him. See, what a lot of people don't understand, and you know, you don't really think about it much. Like, if Ethan would have found out that the fight was maybe off, the mental aspect of that and the weight of that and feeling like I'm not fighting anymore and the letdown and that mental aspect of that is extreme. Like, you're ready, you're dialed in, you're ready to go. And so it was really important that until we knew 100% that the fight was off, that Ethan didn't find out that anything was in jeopardy. I was as convinced as you could say that fight was not happening. I mean, the commission literally straight up told me we've never had someone test negative or positive and that fight occur. Like, the first test, if it's positive, it's always positive. The second time, like, it's never happened here. So I was completely deflated, and that's part of what happened. Was I was completely deflated. I was upset. Like, we lost our co-main event. We lost our title fight, and not only that, but like, Ethan's fought for us from day one. So he's been in our corner. He's been like with us all along. And so, like, the funny thing is, people think, oh, like, you give your favorite guys favorable fights or all that. Like, we've made a tough path for Ethan. Ethan has fought the best of the best. He's probably rarely been favored in a fight for 247. Like, if you look at the history, he's probably been the underdog almost every time. And so to see him scratch and claw and like, from on a personal level, like, I like Ethan. I wanted to see him get the fight for the title again. And the fact that wasn't happening, I had my mind already set. I was completely deflated. It was a big loss to the card, and it was too late for the people that were attending to see him fight to even, like, stay home. Like, we wouldn't. And so it was a big bummer. So part of that, like, release, and like, I was literally screaming at the top of my lungs. People must have been wondering, like, what the heck is wrong with this dude? Why is he having a seizure right now?
They wonder that all the time with you, to be fair.
No, I am a bit of a spaz. But it was just the ability to, like, say, okay, everything's going on the way we planned. Like, we have all 10 fights. Like, let's go. And I was just fired up.
I mean, it was a moment to be fired up about. It was huge, like you said. And then Ethan's performance just capped it off on a totally different level. I think Kevin Barberina's corner man, Charlie Rawlings, when he was leaving the cage after the third round, we heard him say, you know, well, that's the best that guy's ever looked. Like, all the tape they watched on Ethan, which, you know, was fair. Like, they had all of his past fights to watch, but he just hit a different level that night. It was a different fighter that we saw in there. And, dude, shout out, by the way, to Charlie Rawlings and the other cornerman, Justin Woolley. I loved Kevin Barberina's corner man. They were freaking hilarious. They were a joy to work with, and I hope that we can work with that team again in the future. Those are guys that just good old boys, man. They were awesome to work with. So shout out to them, and Kevin too. Kevin was a total pro. Loved working with them, but like you said, it was Ethan's night. It felt like a little element of destiny for sure, with just everything getting there, having the original title fight in February against James Adcock that got canceled. And then if that one would have got canceled too, he was getting married in May, so he couldn't fight on this Johnstown card. Like, it kind of had to happen there. It had to work that way, and it did, obviously.
Yeah, and I got Happy Gilmore back here. I'm like checking it out. Bob Barker will be on there at some point. Anyway, so I also wanted to talk about the performance of the main event with Kama, the Death Star Worthy, and Kahim Murray. Dude, we talk about, like, first of all, Kahim Murray is one of the, like, we searched a lot of people. We hit up a lot of people. Hey, you interested in this fight? Like, no. Kahim Murray, yeah, I'm interested in that fight. Like, yeah, like I'm ready for a challenge. Like, this is a tough dude, and like I'm ready to step up and fight. We don't get a lot of that, especially when you mention Kama's name. So just, if this guy was a man enough to step up and take a tough fight, a tough challenge, and what a fight, what a performance. I mean, these two went toe-to-toe for a while until Kama threw out a nice stiff jab that landed square, I believe, like right between the eyes, like right above the nose, and took Kahim Murray's complete self-awareness. I mean, just kind of, I don't know if you saw the okay, here's the, can they hear me right now? See, I don't know if they can hear me when the video is playing, so I kind of stopped talking. But Kama threw out this nice stiff jab, and it was a nice solid, and it literally knocked Kahim Murray back. And he got his wits back about him pretty quickly, but Kama, jumped on him after pausing for a moment to see if Chip was, jumping in, and just caught him a couple more times, and there was a final blow that just ended his consciousness.
It's crazy. But yeah, they can hear you when you're talking over that. So you can see the jab already put him down. This ground and pound. This was actually, I took this video, so it happened literally right in front of us, sitting there cage side. It was crazy. So shout out, by the way, MMA Fighting. I didn't know they did this, but that's awesome. They picked this up and threw it in a little article. So thanks, MMAfighting.com.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently. That's awesome. Sweet.
It's on MMA Fighting?
Yeah. Thanks,
nice.
Guys. So we appreciate that. I'm sure Kama appreciates that. But Kahim, total pro as well, man. Working with him and his team was awesome. And like you said, massive respect that he stepped up and took the fight, because so many people did not. So that was huge. And I know he's taken that loss pretty hard, because he said, that was the first time his chin ever failed him. And it happens, man. In fighting, you get caught. And Kama is a good example of that too. Kama's been caught many times, but it's about how you come back and how you battle back from that, and then showcase that you're still this elite fighter. So I'm sure Kahim will still go on to have a nice, successful career. But just like it was Ethan's night, man, it was also Kama's night at BitB11.
If you're never caught, like, you're either a complete and utter animal, or you're not challenging yourself enough. Like, one of the two, because these elite level guys, all they got to do is touch you, and if they touch you in the right spot, like, you're losing consciousness. Now, there's been a couple guys that you can think of that haven't been caught, but those are few and far between.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. TJ Timbo Moore, you ever been caught, bruh? We in here. I want to. Absolute one of my favorite dudes, one of my favorite fans here, 247. He's a huge fan, man. We appreciate the support as always. Thanks for bumping in, TJ. Timbo Slice.
Timbo Slice. We had Justin Patton and Devin I keep wanting to mispronounce his name.
You're usually the one that's good at it.
Lozay. Devin Lozay put on a great performance. Devin picked up a huge win, his first pro win, putting him at 1-1. Justin came out strong, had a nice first couple minutes, and Devin took over from there. And that's ultimately, in the second round, he was able to finish it with a rear naked. Justin's such a battler, man. He's going to come back. He's going to come back strong. Justin had a tough weight cut. He's getting to the point in age in his life where it's become really difficult to make that weight. So we're going to take a look at where he needs to be as far as weight goes and put him at the right spot. But Devin, man, congratulations. What a great performance. What a great, just absolutely showed up and was like his charisma, his attitude, he just was awesome. He drove in from, I don't know, like 15, 17 hours away. Like, dude was he was on a mission, and he fulfilled that mission at Brawlenberg 11.
Yeah, it's super true. Devin, I think when we did the podcast with him, I think that was the one we did at Big Rigs. When we did that podcast with him, he 100% put himself on my radar because you could tell just talking to him how dialed in he was. At first, some of these guys that we bring in from out of town, especially a guy from Thunder Bay, Ontario, I couldn't say that I knew a ton about his fights. I can watch tape and things like that, but when you talk to somebody, you can really get a sense for where they're at. And Devin was, like you said, all business, man. That guy was dialed in. He's on a mission. He wants to be, UFC champ someday. That's his goal. He's not dabbling in MMA. This is everything to him. And I think when you get a guy like that, you'll get a performance like he turned in, battled back from some early adversity. Justin was definitely winning that fight early. And then Devin just slowly but surely took over and got the finish in the second round. So that was a huge gutsy performance. And I know he had a good time at the show and really enjoyed working with us. And the feelings, like you said, Ryan, are totally mutual, man. Devin was great. His whole team was great. And definitely hope to have them back again. But now where Justin's at in his career, 1 and 2 as a pro, reminds me a lot of the opening pro fight, Jake Schilling. That was the situation he found himself in going into that fight against Eric Bozoon. 1 and 2, coming off a loss at Brawlenberg 8, got caught in that Goga Plata, just a tough scenario after a successful amateur career. Looked like his pro career just wasn't off on the right foot. But, man, the Jake Schilling that showed up at BitB11 was the Jake Schilling of old and the Jake Schilling that a lot of people in the know always knew was in there. But he put it all together now, man. That was a dominant first-round finish.
Yeah, Jake has been a guy that has been super solid. He's literally been fighting since, like, MMA in Pennsylvania even existed. Like, he's only 27 or 28 years old, but he's been fighting for so long that you just forget that he's not. He's still young. He still hasn't reached the prime age of, most people think the prime, when you're at your best and, you're going to be in the right around 30 years old, and he's still not there yet. I think just looking at his passion for the sport, like, I think there was a point in time where Jake met that crossroads where, like, he didn't know if he still had the love for the sport. This is me guessing. I haven't had conversations, just from, like, interactions and stuff. I don't know if he loved the sport anymore, if he loved training anymore. I don't know if he did or not, but it seems like he's got that fire back. He seems like he's rejuvenated and reinvigorated, and that can only mean great things if he's super motivated. And I mean, the sky's the limit. The guy can wrestle. He's a dynamic striker. He loves to bang. He puts himself in, like, firefights, so he probably needs to fight defensively sometimes and do that kind of thing. He leaves himself susceptible because he's an emotional fighter. He's going to get in there and, like, you hit him, he's going to hit you twice as hard back. Like, that's the mentality of a fighter. And ultimately, like, Jake is a potential superstar. I think he's already a star. Is he ready to take that next step? Does he have the fire that you need in order to take these things to each new level. And the talent's there, no doubt about it. He's very successful in his personal life he works at at a Lexus dealer selling cars, so he has a lot of success there. And so, is that fire like strong enough? I think the sky's the limit. But that's the kind of, you gotta wonder. We see different versions of Jake, and Jake on task, on, no one's making it rich at this level. Like, there's not a ton of money in this game at this level, but he can reach new heights and reach new levels if he wants to. I think the sky's the limit for him. He's a great kid.
I completely agree with everything you just said. And Jake, especially being an emotional fighter, I mean, that can either serve you, I think, or hinder you inside the cage for sure. In this one, it definitely served him. He came out with a passion and a fire. He was willing to trade. I mean, I'm sure you saw in some of these pictures, man, Pozoon landed some huge shots for sure. And Jake ate them and moved forward and eventually got the first round TKO. So that was a phenomenal performance from Jake. He was clearly fired up afterwards, man, and maybe stole the mic from our guy Drew a little bit.
Yeah, that was the one thing, if I could change, like we provide the winners of all the fights with a post-fight interview, and like there's no need to be ripping the mic off of the ring announcer when we have a guy waiting to come in the cage to interview you. So wasn't real thrilled with that. But things happen. You live, you learn, you turn the page, and move forward. Jake, I loved seeing. I was so happy for him. It was an emotional moment. I get it. And Eric Posen, the dude's a complete beast. He's 0-2 now as a pro. Like he's stumbled a couple times. The fight turned around. It was really even on the feet. They were exchanging on the feet, and Jake got a takedown. And at that point, like, Jake got in a position where he could just rain down punches and did so, and then finally got the finish. So, I think that Eric has a ton of skill, a ton of talent. He's got a great team around him, and so I think that there's plenty of great fighters, even that made it to the top level, that had an 0-2 professional start. So this is the time where Eric's going to realize, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to like continue this path? Like, this is the river meets the road kind of deal.
Yeah.
He's going to find out like how bad he wants it.
It's very true. And I think one thing I wanted to point out with Jake's win, and like you said, the passion involved in that fight. His trainer, Chris Williams, awesome boxing trainer at the academy, and works with a lot of local guys, including pro boxer Bill Hutchinson among
best
them.
Of the awesome. Best. Chris Williams, bro. Best
Absolutely.
Of the best.
Absolutely. Chris Williams is that dude. And after the fight was saying, like, Jake just showed the world what we've known all along about his skills. Like, we never doubted Jake. The issue with Jake was never talent or skill or anything like that. It was a matter of putting it all together and committing himself to the sport, and that's exactly what he did. So if that Jake Schilling is a sign of things to come, you're exactly right, Ryan. That's a future superstar. I mean, like you said, he's been literally fighting since he was 18 years old, like sanctioned fights since he was 18 years old. Now he's 27, 28. He's reaching that point where he's going to hit a different level, and I think he showed that at BitB11. So I'm super excited for what's next for Jake, man. He's got a world of potential, and it's really, really cool to see it happening now.
Yeah, it was nice to see, moving over to the amateur side of the card. We had Tim Bailey make his debut. He was supposed to fight for us, a year or so ago, and finally got that debut out of the way. A lot of pedigree coming out of training at Stout and having that wrestling background. His grappling was going to be on point. The question was like, what would his stand up look like? And it also looked very good. Very, he was going in against a young man who had spent a good amount of time in the cage, and even in the cage with us. And so he was coming in as the inexperienced fighter versus a much more experienced. And Aaron Harper, his opponent, is now 0-3. Now, most of the time when you see a fighter that's 0-3, they're not a very good, like they're not good. Like most of the time. I'm telling you right now, Aaron Harper is a really strong, solid, well-rounded fighter. He's fought some like matchups that didn't work in his favor, but I gotta be honest, like I'm not tooting someone's horn just to toot someone's horn. Aaron Harper is we have talked about it amongst ourselves. We always refer to him like the past week we've said like the greatest 0-3 fighter in the history of the world. Like
Yeah.
he is really good.
I mean, you look at who he's fought. His debut, which we didn't have, he fought a guy named Cameron Scalio, who is now 4-1 as an amateur, insanely solid. He fought Tanner Cahill in Johnstown for Tanner's debut, and Tanner definitely out-wrestled him, won that decision. We know Tanner's awesome, and Tanner's background as a wrestler is pretty phenomenal. And then he just fought Tim Bailey, or like you said, another super strong wrestling background, also training at one of the best gyms in Pittsburgh at Stout. He's poor Aaron Harper, man. We never do this, and we would never give somebody a layup just to do it. Like, I'm not saying that at all. But if anybody deserves a layup, man, it's Aaron Harper. That poor guy's drawn some tough cards here early in his career. And I told him the same thing after the event. I was like, dude, please keep your head up, because the guy I saw in that cage is not an 0-3 fighter. Like, I know your record says 0-3.
Not even close.
Yeah. The skills he's showing, man, against 3 different opponents, he's 3-0. You know what I mean? He's legitimately good. Like, he's a talented kid, and I'm really excited to see what's next for him, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And Tim Bailey, like, the sky's the limit for him. He's a great kid, a very I don't know how old he is, if you could snag that. But he's a good, nice kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He is he's got a great base. His grappling is really, high level, and he's athletic. So all the boxes are checked for him to grow into a complete martial artist, if that's the path he decides to go in.
Yeah, he's 26 years old, so he's at the perfect spot, honestly, to, get some of the, like you were saying earlier with Justin Patton, some of that man strength and man body is going to be coming in for sure for Tim Bailey, and he keeps working at Stout. I mean, we see what they can do. They went 3-0 at BitB11. There were 3 Stout fighters on the card: James Padmore, Tim Bailey, and Jake Rogers, all picked up big, definitive wins on that card. 2 finishes, Jake and James both got finishes, and then Tim went to a decision with Aaron Harper. But they all looked phenomenal, and we know the level of training there with Mike Wilkins and Will Morrill and all the guys down there at Stout are just phenomenal. So it's really cool to work with Stout, man, and get them in that cage, because they're a huge part of the Pittsburgh combat sports scene. So just like we were saying about Mayhem MMA leading in, when you add new gyms to the mix, get new fighters to the mix, it just makes the entire scene, the entire community that much stronger. So we're very, very happy to have Stout be a part of that mix, no doubt.
Yeah, Stout's been a part of the mix before, and ultimately, just full disclosure, I relationally screwed that relationship up. Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. And they've come back and given us a second chance to make my wrong or right, and we look forward to working with them. I talked to Mason DeLess. He's possibly going to get back in the 247 cage. So we're more than happy to have those guys back in the mix, and look forward to rebuilding that relationship with them. I mean, part of the, when Hunter came on as the general manager, is like there were mistakes that were made, and from day one I told Hunter, listen, I screwed up the relationship with Stout. I just messed up. period, point blank. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you know, they've been gracious enough to move forward, and we'll, you know, we'd love having them a part of things. Jake Rogers. So is Jake Rogers moving out to California or moving out to Colorado or something?
Montana.
Yeah.
Which is a state that you forget exists unless you hear about it.
Well, except for when you know them all in alphabetical order.
Yeah. Oh wait, you is that you? Do you know them all?
I mean, I do. Yes, I do.
That's wild. We might need to hear you do that sometime.
Two strong beers in, I might not, but
fair.
But Jake Rogers got his only MMA bout, I guess.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
He faced Tyshawn Law. Tyshawn Law looked like this was like really, really nice back and forth battle for like the first, I don't know, first half of the first round. And then Jake kind of took over, and it looked to me like Tyshawn kind of like had those first fight, like he just gassed.
He gassed.
That's the way it appeared to me.
Adrenaline dump, gas. It sounded like he had a tough weight cut and might actually want to fight up at 170 in his next fight. But I kind of felt the same way about Tyshawn as I did Aaron Harper, where it's like, you lost that fight, but what you showed inside the cage was not a loss in our eyes. You know, I'm actually looking at you as somebody that I really want back in the cage moving forward, because I think you can be something great, honestly. Like, I really see a base of skills there that's going to serve you extremely well if you keep at it. So Tyshawn looked great in my eyes. You know, like you said, he did gas. And Jake, once again, Jake's a super good fighter, man. Like, training out of Stout with a bit of a Muay Thai background, and obviously always polishing the grappling there at Stout. He's a tough out for anybody. So to even do what he did in that first round, Tyshawn, man, I thought he showed out really well.
What I found interesting about Jake is that so I was talking to him, like, I don't know if we were going ticket consignment, reconciliation, or what, but ultimately he said, like, I've never been to an MMA show. I've never been involved with MMA. I've like my family, none of us have like been through this. This is our first time like with this experience at all. And so that was interesting to me, is like, this is your first dose of regional MMA, your first dose of live MMA, like, interesting, like, learning about that. I'd love to hear what his thoughts are, like how it compared to what he was expecting and all those things. So maybe get him on the show at some point in the next, couple months.
Man, I would love to get Jake on the show, and he did actually send me a DM after the show. I can't remember the exact. I'll see if I can find it really, really quickly. I was messaging. Yeah, he said it was a great night. You guys put together a good show. My family was impressed by how professional it was. They have no exposure to MMA. Like I said, they were very impressed. So awesome, man. We appreciate that feedback. That means so much to us, honestly. We really do try to put on a show. I know that's something that you emphasize all the time, Ryan. You know, we're not just putting on some MMA fights. We're putting on a show, a night out, a real event that has some theatrics to it, that has, things that fans can engage with and really pump the atmosphere in an arena. So that's really what we try to do.
Ultimately, as unethical as we are, we do try to give people their money's worth. And, it's part of the reason, like, it was funny, we got an email from Jake Schillings, which we are going to respond to you. We're working on that. From Jake Schillings' team at Lexus of North Hills. And they said, like, this is the first show we've ever been. I'm paraphrasing. This is the first show we've ever been to. I'm sure, like, when you guys get emails, it's complaints and stuff like that. But this is the exact opposite. And the funny thing to you is, I said to you, like, we actually don't get many complaints. Like, people that come to our shows don't feel like, hey, I didn't get my money's worth. Like, I think for the most part, and correct me if I'm wrong, fans, but I feel like when people leave a 247 show, even though, we're not priced as low as some other shows, like, people feel like, wow, I got my money's worth. We have production value. We have, we have the best of the best announcers, the, ring card girl, like all of our, like everything we do, we're intentionally doing it at the highest possible level. And so I don't think that's a problem, but it was nice having that email saying, we're saying the exact opposite. You guys put on such a phenomenal show and all that stuff. So it was good to hear.
That kind of stuff feels good. And it's funny you mentioned kind of the levels of people that it takes to bring the show together. When I do that post-event kind of thank you post on social media, and I kind of try to give everybody shine involved from top to bottom, it's unbelievable how many people are involved. Whenever you have to actually think about it and you don't want to miss anybody and you want to give all the shout outs, it is unbelievable how many people it takes to bring that show together. But I mean, they're an awesome team. Nothing I say in that post is just me saying it to be flattering. Like, literally at every single level, from the promo girls to our cage crew to the production, sound guys, everybody backstage helping get the fighters out for the walkouts, Jesse and the whole Brian, that whole team.
Sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, you could go on forever, and that post got so long, and I was like, who am I missing? Who am I missing? And it's just crazy to think how many people it takes. But then you look at that level by level, the people we have in those positions, man, they're all rock stars. Like, the entire team, top to bottom, are freaking rock stars. So we're just honored to work with this crew and keep building, keep growing, man. The next step, May 14th, right here in Johnstown. I mean, I can't wait for this show.
And the really cool thing is I think what 247 has done a really good job of, and it's really kind of taken another jolt with your arrival, Hunter, is just given, like, we are a family. Like, regardless of what you think, all the people behind the scenes at 247, like, we go through all the things that any family goes through. We go through good times and bad times, and ultimately, like, we all know we have each other's backs and that we are in this together, and we all have, like, an ownership in the promotion. Like, this is 247 isn't Hunter, it's not me, it's not Jim, it's not any one person, or like, it's Pittsburgh MMA, and there's a bunch of people that, like, put all this stuff in the background. You see the fighters that are involved, you see the coaches that are see the coaches that are involved, you see the ring announcers, you hear the play-by-play guys, but there's a bunch of family around that make all that happen. And it's really something special. One of the things that everyone has a legacy that they leave, and I make mistakes, and everyone makes mistakes, and you go through different times and phases of your life. But ultimately, like, the thing I feel the best about is the fact that we have a group of people that all feel like we're part of something special, and we just want to keep striving and doing better and better and better. And that we want to do that not only for our legacy, but for Pittsburgh MMA and for the sport in general. I think we can do great things. I've said that from the get-go. There's no reason why Pittsburgh MMA shouldn't be a mecca. There's no reason why it shouldn't be, it shouldn't rise to the top. And I think we're well on the way.
On the way, man. And I'm certainly honored to be a part of it. It's something that you can definitely feel, especially, like you said, when you're at the shows. When people are at our shows, we never hear them say, wow, this was overpriced or anything of the sort. People see, I think, what we're getting at when they're there. And it really is when you experience it live, or even if you watch the live stream. I had some friends order the pay-per-view from out of town. So shout out Tony Lloyd out in Cincinnati. He's come to the last few shows, couldn't make it to this one, got the pay-per-view, and was like, dude, I had my friends over that are like big UFC fans, and we watched your pay-per-view and they freaking loved it. He's like, everybody had a great time watching your pay-per-view, couldn't believe how, like, professional and well put together it was. They're like, it's kind of like watching the UFC. I'm like, yeah, like, that's what we try to do. None of it's an accident.
So many people, so many facets that make that happen. But Mike Moran, one of the people that are so integral in making that happen is E2A production run by Mike Moran. Like he has taken our stuff to a new level. We have Ryan Kavanaugh, who came in and just absolutely his play-by-play skills and just his, I mean, the guy's on ESPN Plus and he does all like, and he's our guy. Like he's just taken things to another level. Like, so when you listen to the broadcast and Cole Masick, like Cole asked me months, I don't know, a year or two ago, hey, like, can I fill in? And he came in as a third man, and then he did Flood City Fight Night, and now he's doing, you know, 2 more shows. He did the last one and this one because Luke's out, but like just people stepping up and stepping in and like putting all the pieces in place. Like I just feel I'm really happy with all the things that have transpired. And then our sponsors, man, we started this thing with like asking people like, is there anything we can do for you to be a sponsor? Like we need to help get the ball rolling. And ultimately I knew that like it was going to require the help of sponsors to successfully run a promotion, period, end of story, point blank. And recently it's been really encouraging. We've gotten some crazy nice texts and messages from our sponsors saying like, hey, when it's time to renew, no questions asked, we're renewing. Like, let us know when it's time. The check will be ready right away. And that's really encouraging. So, I mean, it's just awesome. We appreciate all of our sponsors and Sunny Days, who's our lead sponsor now, man. Those guys just couldn't say enough great things about them as a company, but them as like people and friends. And they were already voted one of the top companies. We have two of our sponsors that were on the list for the best companies to work in Pittsburgh. So
isn't that awesome? Yeah,
it is pretty awesome.
Arias Agencies being the other one, and it's just cool, man. It's exactly what you said. We want to work with not just great companies but great people because they support us, we support them. It's a natural relationship between us. Whenever we have to, you know, whatever, shout them out, talk about them on a podcast right now, it's very easy to talk about because we can say what we actually feel about them. It's a good feeling. They're really good people. We don't need to fluff it up for you guys. And we know that if you check them out, if you talk to them, you're going to have the same experience we do because they're just genuine people serving a mission and doing really good things in the community. So we're definitely thankful to be paired up with sponsors like that.
Well, and the funny thing is, I mean, I think people think like, you know, organizations, like anyone that's willing to sponsor, like we'll take them on. Like that's not true. We've turned down sponsors before. Mm-hmm. We've checked people. We look into companies that want to sponsor us. And Hunter had an opportunity that came across his plate not too long ago and was like, oh, I have someone that's, you know, ready to come on board. And like they were investigated and they aren't a part of our sponsorship. Like they were turned down. So it's not like we're fluffing up people we don't believe in. Like we've researched these people. Like these are solid people in the community. They're solid companies. They're, you know, and they're people that we can proudly say like, hey, we partner with, you know, Price Industries. We partner with Sunny Days. We partner with Rehab Center. You know, those are the guys, Grandview Financial. Those are all things that we, you know, go into it. So they're a part of the family, and we just welcomed, you know, Arias, who is a new member of the 247 family. So happy to have them. It's awesome. It's great stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a natural time to shout out once again Woodside Bar and Grill because they are going to be the official after party for Flood City Fight Night 2, May 14th, right here in Johnstown. Here's their website. Man, you just had a burger. I just had wings. And I got to say, I will 100% be back here when I'm ever near Johnstown. After party or not, those wings were banging, man. They had this crack sauce, which I'm not sure what was in it, but it was like a buffalo ranch, garlic kind of mix of everything that you love in a wing sauce. Those wings were freaking phenomenal. And these guys are great, man. Woodside Bar and Grill here in Johnstown. I heard that old Chris C. used to frequent here, to say the least, when he was in college. He was a big Woodside guy. So if Chris Dempsey likes it, you know it's legit.
Absolutely. And ultimately, like Rob Barmoy is the owner here. He's a great guy. We actually hosted our after party here last time we were here in August, and just a phenomenal place. It's awesome here, but ultimately, like, there's going to be live music. There's going to be a great party. There's an outside area with a tiki bar and all that stuff. If the weather permits, we'll be able to hang out there. It'll be awesome. For those of you that are coming in, I know there's going to be plenty of people coming in from Pittsburgh. This is a night to get a hotel room and to come to, the after party and enjoy yourself, because it's going to be, Woodside's going to be electric. The War Memorial is going to be electric. Just 3 weeks away. Get your tickets now, 247fighting.com. It's going to be special. We've already announced one fight. More fights are on the way. So those announcements are coming next week and beyond.
Well, you stole what I was going to say there with the Albright and Pippins fight is just a sign of things to come. So, we're going to stack up this card for you guys and for Johnstown. It's going to be a rocking time in there. I know the last show there was really cool. That venue is awesome. I love that arena there at First Summit. It's going to be a good time, man. We're here in Johnstown right now, kind of feeling the energy. I got to say, I can get the fight night vibe a little bit being here. Like, it's starting to feel a little more real being inside First Summit and everything earlier today. So I'm stoked, man. May 14th, I know it's going to fly up here, but I cannot wait. It's going to be another show. Go get those tickets, guys, 247fighting.com, and we'll see you then. We'll have plenty more ahead of time, so just stay tuned.
One more thing, I anticipate a pretty special announcement. Hopefully it'll be happening next week. A special announcement is forthcoming, and so we're excited to announce it. We just got to get things finalized, and we'll have a pretty cool announcement coming soon.
Yeah, you guys are going to love that one. Not taking anything away from it. Just stay tuned to all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We're everywhere. Find 247 Fighting Championships. Follow us, like Ryan said. It's going to be fun. So we'll see you guys for that announcement. We will see you guys May 14th as well for Flood City Fight Night 2. And come on down to Woodside if you're anywhere near Johnstown. Come get some wings and beer. I guarantee you won't be upset about that. Have a good one, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, look at that. All right, guys, we'll see you next Friday for another podcast. And until then, stay tuned. We'll have plenty of content rolling out. Peace.